Hi, this is Lindsay, one of the co-hosts of Beauties and Headcanons. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hello, my friend. It's Julianne Candia. Thanks for tuning in to Rewritten. I really appreciate it. If we have not met, hello. I am so excited that you are here. I dreamed up this podcast 2 years ago, and I am just blown away by these last 2 years, and I'm just really grateful for our community. I went to a Tony Robbins event, and I knew right away what I needed to do leaving that event, and it was creating Rewritten, and it's just been an absolute blast. If we are not friends on Instagram, I would love to be friends on Instagram. It's at Julianne Candia, and after this episode is done, if you could screenshot it and upload, let me know how this spoke to you. Send it to a friend. And more than anything, if you could just leave a review and rate this podcast, I would be so freaking grateful. I would love that so flipping much. So I've been an entrepreneur now for almost 6 years, which is crazy to think about. I went to school for teaching. I actually, fun fact, changed my major my junior year, decided to go into education, specifically wanting to teach in the city. And I loved it. It was so good, but I had found that my self-care was lacking. I was really burnt out. I had all of the best intentions. I loved serving those students and families, but I just needed to do something for me. So I decided to become an entrepreneur on the side and had no idea that it would lead to becoming a full-time family, running a business from home, living in Silicon Valley, dreaming up other dreams. It's wild. So Rewritten is so much about helping others rewrite their story. I just didn't think someone like me could be doing something like that. I had no idea because I wasn't great at school. My grades weren't good. I have test anxiety. On paper, it just didn't make sense that I could be successful outside of the criteria of what the paper said. But I have rewritten that. And so much of this podcast is to really help you discover your limitless potential, to help you dream up big dreams, and just to show you what I've done and how I've done it. I'm extremely passionate about being an entrepreneur. I'm really passionate about seeing other people win. So that is Rewritten in a nutshell. Thank you for being here. I want to talk to you. I actually saw an article that crossed my news feed, and it was called The Silent Killer of All Relationships. It might have even said marriages. I'm not quite sure. And I clicked it because I wanted to see what that was. A lot of people think that it's finances or the lack of sex happening in your relationship, but it's actually unmet expectations, which is so wild because that for sure is when Eric and I are off, is when it's unmet expectations. And this is something him and I have identified years and years ago. I specifically remember when we were dating and he said he would come at whatever time to pick me up or to come home from school, and it ended up being an hour later than he said, 2 hours later than he said, and I found myself really frustrated about that. And then we started to realize I had an expectation. When he said he was on his way home, I thought he was in the car 2 minutes away, but for him, he's like, I'm almost there. I'm almost going to pack up, but I'm not even in the car yet. So I'm not even on the road, and it's actually going to be longer. And so it was the unmet expectations that have created disconnect in our relationship. And I would have to say that's in all of my relationships. Unmet expectations. I was expecting one thing. Have you ever felt let down. Pick a birthday, pick a holiday, pick a friend's reunion, and you in your head had this whole idea about how it was going to be. It could even be with pregnancy, right? You didn't expect to have a miscarriage or a loss or anything like that. Or let's just even talking about birth. You had this plan and then you had an unmet expectation and something just went wrong and not the way that you expected it to. And that could lead to a lot of frustration, and that could lead to a lot of anger and sadness and resentment and disconnect and just wanting to put up walls. So the first thing I want you to do with unmet expectations is to first identify that. I think that's the key, because when you become aware, you become responsible. So for Eric and I, we can pinpoint exactly when our expectations aren't met. So in our communication, once we're let down because of an unmet expectation, something we can say to each other is, oh, I was expecting this, and you were on a different page than me. That is why I'm frustrated. And so then we can work on it from there. So the biggest thing is just identifying it. And there really are 5 strategies to effectively dealing with unmet expectations. Number 1 would be managing your expectations, making sure you set realistic goals and expectations for your life, for your relationships, for your business. I see this a lot in entrepreneurs, that they have a lot of unmet expectations and they get massively defeated. When I think entrepreneurship is such a roller coaster, and it is needing patience on your journey because it takes time, but really setting realistic goals and metrics, but knowing the bigger vision of where you're going and not making quitting an option. Number 2 would be to realize and accept you're not in control of everything. And that's a huge thing I've learned, is that I'm not in control of other people. Their reactions, what they do, what they say. I cannot control the world, right? Nor do I want that kind of stress. But what I can control is how I respond and how I react and how I learn. So the number 1 way to do that is to realize and accept it, that you're not in control of everyone else. So when you feel let down by your spouse, you've got to realize that you cannot control that situation. And I feel like you'll see it from a more understanding place. Number 3 is that you are in control of many things. Just like I said, you are in control of how you react. You are in control with how you deal with it. And a big thing for Eric and I is that we continue to work through things, so then the next time that happens, we know how to prepare for it, we know how to get through it faster, and we know how to not make it such a big deal. Number 4, this one is hard. And the reason this is hard is because of our egos, and we don't want to be wrong. We don't want to be that person. We don't want to be the jerk. We don't want to be the person who lets other people down, or we don't want to be the people who just make other people angry, right? So we've got to look in the mirror. We've got to have a gut check with ourselves. We've got to see, how could I have handled that better? For me, it's always in my reactions. And so that's when I need to look in the mirror, right? I need to, because when I say something, I mean it. And if I say I'm going to be there on that time, I most likely will be. Eric is a little bit different. And so I just have got to be more patient, and I've got to be able to see how I can respond in that moment. And number 5, and this can be difficult as well, is just move on. Is to not let all of this grow bigger than it needs to grow, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. However, I really do believe that resistance in relationships can make your relationship stronger. The setbacks, the obstacles, this is the same in entrepreneurship. People always tell me, they say, my number 1 fear is that I don't want to fail. And I'm like, actually, I think you just don't want obstacles. You just don't want it to be hard. And that's different, because failing is 100% not trying. Failing is 100% quitting, right? So I would have to say it's that fear of moving through something hard. Unmet unmet expectations can be so annoying and so frustrating. But when you become aware of it, you become better. I swear this knowledge of unmet expectations will help you not only in your relationship, it will help you at your job, your dreams, being a parent, everything. The silent killer is unmet expectations. And I think unmet expectations leave room to get better at communication, which is something that's really important to Eric and I. Friend, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Rewritten. Again, if you could screenshot this, upload it to Instagram at Julianne Candia. And Rewritten has its own Instagram page, which is at the Rewritten Society. And it would be so fun to see you tag that. And know this, if you want 2020 to be one of more choices in freedom and self-care, I mentor women. I mentor them on how to get fit in every area of life. It is my passion. It is my calling to be able to encourage women to get stronger and more confident and better in life. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.